Hi guys, I'm Richard and this is the TBK podcast. Welcome to the post-fight Dillian Whyte reaction. It was a really good fight yesterday, I enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys did as well. I think Dillian was extremely comfortable. It was amongst the best boxing I've seen from Dillian Whyte. He looked confident, his jab was good. I'm a huge Dillian Whyte fan, he's my favourite active fighter, but I'm under no illusions as to his ability. I don't think he's the best at heavyweight. I do think under the right circumstances, he could have success against the best at heavyweight and even win. What I would say is though, I believe that Dillian Whyte has quite a few world-class factors. Even if you don't think that he's a world-class fighter in its entirety, he's definitely got a world-class jab. He's got one of the best jabs at heavy. If you look at Fury's jab, it's more flicking. So he splits his guard, he'll have, his backhand up high and his jab low, and he'll flick the jab out Fury, and it's kind of a slapping jab. It doesn't look very authoritative. Joshua doesn't really consistently commit to the jab. And Wilder, funnily enough, despite being the worst boxer out of those considered the elite three, has a fairly decent jab. And in the first fight, he put that jab to use and he bossed the fight off the back of it. But Dillian Whyte, I believe his jab's world class. He's surprisingly long arms, and when he throws that jab out, it does damage. He uses it well, and I think it's one of the things that makes him most effective as a fighter. Despite him being 6'4.5", which is very tall, but he's short comparatively with some of the heavyweights we've got at the moment. With Fury 6'9" and Wilder 6'7", is it? And Joshua 6'6". So the very top fighters are all extremely tall. And Dillian isn't as tall as those fighters, but he has deceptively long arms. I'd say his arms are as long or longer than any of those guys. And he's got the jab to accompany it, which he needs to start depending on more in the remainder of his fights. He also has a world-class left hook. His left hook's amongst the best in the division. The other guy with the top left hook, I would have argued, is Povetkin. And Povetkin finished Dillian Whyte with an uppercut, and Dillian Whyte finished Povetkin with that left hook. So he avenged his loss and looked sensational doing it. And he landed that signature punch against another person in contention for having the best left hook at heavyweight, which was really meaningful. So he's got an elite jab, a great left hook, and then finally, in my opinion, Dillian Whyte works really well to the body. He's got very good body work. We didn't see that yesterday, interestingly enough. He deviated from it, and I'm not sure if that's because Povetkin's a shorter man. So if you've ever got in there and fought and had any amateur experience or pro experience, fighting someone shorter and going to the body is particularly risky, because you have to either drop down to their level. You can't punch down, but people get into the habit of punching down, and it puts you at risk for a counter shot. It's really risky, and I think the fact that Dillian Whyte didn't take that risk shows me that he was in there, he was thinking, that they thought about all of Povetkin's strengths, and that they executed the plan to perfection. In the first round, he came out, there was no feeling out process. He jumped straight onto Povetkin, and he landed some bombs, he hurt him. One of my major concerns with Dillian Whyte is similar to Deontay Wilder, in that when he gets his opponent buzzed or hurt, all of the technique goes out the window. Once he got Povetkin hurt, he stopped trying to box and land counters and work the body, and he started exchanging recklessly, and he loses his shape, he loses his form, and that's when he's most vulnerable, Dillian Whyte. Another vulnerability in Dillian Whyte's game, and I think I've noticed online he gets so much criticism from not American journalists, but from American fight fans. They don't seem to rate him, and they're very critical of his style, despite him having arguably one of the best resumes at heavyweight. And that's because, in my opinion, Dillian Whyte has really bad balance, and so he doesn't have to be hurt, but he looks clumsy. He'll be falling over the place, even though what he's doing is very deliberate. and extremely effective. He looks clumsy. And Tyson Fury had the same problems coming up. Tyson Fury in Britain was not taken seriously coming up because he looked slow, he looked ungainly, and he looked uncoordinated. And now people are saying, oh, Tyson Fury's got the best footwork and got the best this and that, but it's not what people were saying. You know, very recently, I'd say, even after he beat Klitschko, people were still criticising his style. I was still having conversations with people where they were saying, you know, Fury's rubbish. It was probably the Wilder fight, Wilder one, where he genuinely changed perceptions about his ability, and now people think he can't lose. So overall, going back to Dillian Whyte's performance, first round he came out, he jabbed well, he mixed in some jabs to the body, which is a bit easier because you can do it from further out than hook into the body or throwing a straight right into the body. Second round, again, he dominated with the jab, he, you know, pushed his head back a bit, but Povetkin did start to come into the fight slightly. The third round, you could almost argue as being Povetkin's round, even though I'm saying that Dillian Whyte dominated the fight, which he did. Povetkin landed more shots in that third round than Dillian Whyte did. However, Dillian Whyte landed that brilliant right hand, and that was the, you know, one of the best punch, arguably the best punch of the fight, even though it didn't drop Povetkin. It was a brilliant counter. Povetkin leapt in as he does, and the overhand right was perfectly timed. I don't know how Povetkin stood up to it. It was good enough a punch for me to give Dillian Whyte the round, despite him arguably being out of work. And you could see when that punch landed, you could see Povetkin go into his shell. He went straight into his shell. He became really apprehensive. And I think that was really the beginning of the end for Povetkin. He was really hurt. The fourth round was completely one-sided. You know, he came out, Dillian Whyte did him. He landed great shots. And like I mentioned earlier on, finished it with the left hook, which was a fantastic shot. I don't know about him bringing the chair over for Povetkin to sit on at the end of the fight. I think that he did it with the best intentions, but I think that Povetkin's a proud man. He doesn't need you. You know, he's 41. You're going to bring a Zimmer frame for him next. He doesn't need you to help him sit down. He can sit down himself. He knows how to do it. He's just fought, you know, for the interim WBC world champion. You know, he's more than capable of sitting down if he needs to. But I do think it was well intentioned. Where next for Dillian? I think, you know, having conversations with other boxing fans, what I always think is interesting is how people get put on a pedestal and how boxing fans are so fickle. So what I hear a lot is, he can't beat Joshua, he can't beat Fury, but, you know, the Wilder fight's hard and he should do this or that. Nobody in boxing is beyond, you know, losing a fight. So saying he can't beat these guys is nonsensical. The only way to determine who's the best out of these fighters is by them fighting one another. It's not by, you know, stats or performances, you know, or losses. None of that matters. Antonio Margarito had, what, 4 losses when he fought Miguel Cotto? If we followed what boxing fans said after every fight has a loss, we would have all said, you know, he's got no chance, he's not going to beat Cotto. But he did. He beat Cotto. You know, again, Bernard Hopkins had losses when he came in to fight Felix Trinidad. Felix Trinidad was an animal, a fantastic fighter. Again, if we had social media and reacted the way we do today, everyone would have said, no chance, he's not going to beat Felix Trinidad. I mean, people did say that, but it's a good thing the fight happened because he did beat Felix Trinidad. And the same thing happened with Oscar De La Hoya. You can't beat him, you know, he's lost and, you know, he's not good enough. He did beat him. So the only way you can discover who the best is by actually having the fights. Not by, you know, guesswork and subjecture. It's by getting in the ring and fighting. And I think styles make fights as well. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Dillian Whyte do better against Tyson Fury than he does against Deontay Wilder. And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, I think that he can. I'm not saying that he's favourite, but I think he can beat Deontay Wilder. But I really also think that Tyson Fury struggles with shorter body punches. He showed that against Otto Wallin, and I don't think that there's a better active body puncher at heavyweight than Dillian Whyte. So I think there's a reason that Tyson Fury's never shown an interest in that fight. Dillian Whyte could go out and lose another 5 fights, and I still think his style matches up very well with Tyson Fury, who is elusive with good head movement, but doesn't like it to the body. He can try and lean on Dillian Whyte, but Dillian Whyte's strong himself. He's a bit of a bruiser. I really think that would make for a good fight. But he's not going to get that fight at the moment, if we're honest. So Fury Joshua is next, and Joshua is going to fight Usyk after that. So he needs to hope one that Fury wins if he wants his title shot, because if Joshua has 2 fights with Fury and wins them and then fights Usyk, it's a longer wait. Dillian Whyte would be insane to wait around for that. He's looking at, at best 1.5 years before he gets his title shot at one of the main titles, because he's not at the top of the pecking order. His best option going forward is either for the titles to be, broken up after the first Fury Joshua fight. So Joshua or Fury wins, and then the titles are, have to be vacated instead of, them fighting their mandatories because they're rematching. That's his best hope, and if that doesn't happen, he needs to target other titles or bouts that give him some relevance. So all of the bouts are tied up between Fury and Joshua, with the exception of the WBA regular title, which isn't a real title. But David Haye won the WBA and praised himself around as world champion, and I agree he was a world champion. Alexander Povetkin won a secondary title, former world champion. I don't know if I'd count the WBC interim champion. I don't think Dillian Whyte can really call himself a world champion based on that. But he needs to go beat Trevor Bryan and get that WBA regular title, and it gives him a little bit of leverage. It might be a tiny bit of leverage, but it gives him some leverage that, when it comes time to unify with the Super WBA champion, it's a unification fight. It entitles him to certain privileges, and it's a winnable title for him. It's much easier than fighting the fighters that he's fought. He's already beaten people that are, in my opinion, I know Trevor Bryan's undefeated, but on the eye test, he's not all that. So that's probably quite a harsh criticism, but I won't say he's not all that. He's definitely beatable on the eye test, more so than Deontay Wilder, who isn't great but has that power until you knock him out or he knocks you out, or Andy Ruiz, who is not in great shape but is one of the more skilled heavyweights and has fast hands, or Tyson Fury, who, even though their styles mesh well, Tyson Fury is the most skilled fighter at heavyweight, or Anthony Joshua, who again is the most rounded fighter at heavyweight and already has a victory over Dillian Whyte. So next for Dillian Whyte, I'd like to see him move on and make an attempt at getting that Trevor Bryan fight. I've listened to Eddie Hearn, and Eddie Hearn doesn't really care what happens to Dillian Whyte. He cares about Dillian Whyte protecting the cash cow in Anthony Joshua. I'm a Joshua fan as well as a Dillian Whyte fan, but Joshua needs to look out for his own best interests, and Dillian Whyte needs to look out for his own best interest. He doesn't need to fight Wilder to allow the super fight, and that's what I think Eddie Hearn's doing. He's trying to placate Deontay Wilder by giving him a big fight for big money to allow the mega fight to happen, which is great for boxing fans, it's great for Wilder, it's great for Fury and Joshua, and it's great for Eddie Hearn, but it's not great for Dillian Whyte, who's already waited 1,000 days for his title shot. We'll leave it there. So this was Richard, and this is the TV Cab podcast. Have a good day. Bye.
and this is the TBK podcast.